identify the content, we gotta validate it. We got to acknowledge that it's real, that it's what you're feeling, that it's true for you in that moment. It's true of what you're sensing. And I had to learn this, and it was hard for me because, especially, growing up in a blue-collar city, as a man, you're not taught to acknowledge your emotions, let alone show your emotions, right? And then as a black man, that is strictly off the table. And then another layer to that, as a guy in a physical sport, where if you get hurt, you're soft. If you cry out loud, you're soft. I had all these things working against me of just acknowledging what was going on inside my own body, inside my own heart. So I had to admit to myself that emotions are not weaknesses. They are just information, and they're, an awareness. They're letting you know what's happening. And they are not, despite everything that we've been taught as athletes, to lace up by the bootstraps, keep going, play if you got whatever broken, play if you got something going on mentally. Emotions are not weaknesses, but they are good to acknowledge. You have to acknowledge. You have to start somewhere, and you can't fix the problem unless you address it. And lastly, I had to know this. Emotions, even though they're okay, they're not my pilot. They cannot fly the plane of my life. Because if they do, I'm crashing. And that could easily happen to me at any time I transferred, especially anytime I got injured, anytime I had a stressful meeting with a coach. I couldn't let the emotions get the best of me. Because if they did, I wouldn't be here today. Now, when we identify and validate the emotions, I was like, okay, I'm seeing a pattern of when we don't do that. All 3 different schools, I met a lot of different people, but I saw some typical patterns, and I also of how people respond when they don't deal with their emotions and their heart content. And I also noticed some trends within me. So the first thing was shut down. This is where guys I saw, they stopped coming to practice. They stopped doing the things that they liked. They stopped, taking coaching. They stopped doing the little things. Like, they just stopped all typical functioning. And they just went into the tank, as my dad would call it. And then the next one is they would blow up. This is cussing people out, yelling, storming out, like it's a volcano erupting. And I definitely saw that at Mount Union, Ashland, and even Geneva. And then this is when I did, I would cry. I was so broken down to the point where I just tear up. And that's when I was at Mount, in my bed, being frustrated over, I can't sleep. I'm worried about playing time. Why am I in this position? And I was just so broken down, I was just crying in my bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And it sucked. And I'm like, yo, I really can't get sleep now, right? No matter how tired I felt, I still couldn't sleep. And the next one is take it out on others. This is where you destroy relationships and connections because what's going on inside, you have to dish it out on somebody else. And lastly, this is blame. This is the blame game. Coaches talk about it all the time, right? And it's everybody else's fault, including teammates, coaches, the school, your high school that you came from, the college, your color, the way you grew up. It's everybody else's fault except yours. And when people do that, I saw that they could never grow as a person as well as a player, because everything else was somebody else's fault. And it kept them stagnant. So, have any of y'all seen any of these patterns? Yeah? Would anybody like to share? Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, I definitely got to work on my emotions. I think I see a lot of a shutdown. But really, I experience like sometimes like if I get frustrated and people not understanding what I'm saying,
Right.
and my passion and what I've been through, then I just shut down, just try to get away from everybody.
Right.
I feel like I'm not heard.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember doing that, especially when I got injured. I was like, you know, I just want to be by myself. I'm hurting. Nobody really understands, and if they do, I don't want to hear what they got to say right now. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Anybody else see any pattern? Like for somebody else, you saw your boy, like, oh shoot, that's what he went through. He blew up. He blamed. Anything? All right, so this is what we got. When you identify the emotions, you validate them, and you identify the negative patterns of coping with them, we have to have solutions for them, right? So I came across these and I was like, I did a couple of these through my experience, but maybe not as well as I should have. And some of these, I wish I had this when I was still playing. First is experiencing, then it's reprocessing, empathy, and lastly, action.